This is Dust War Journals, episode 32. My name is Johannes, and welcome to Dust War Journals, your number one stop for all news and discussion related to Dust 1947. And as always, I have with me today
Magnus, and
known as Magoff on the forums.
yeah, that's true. And who are you?
I don't know. Let's guess. I think I am Luda. And I just like to say, you can't stop the signal. That's all I got to say for this episode. You can't stop the signal.
The Luda signal.
Yeah, amongst others. But, moving right along. Not getting stuck on it.
Moving right along. Oh, yes. It seems like we were just here doing this exact same thing. Just with there seems to be fewer of us around this time.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, we lost a couple on the way.
Yeah, a few casualties. Even though I sincerely think you shouldn't leave anyone behind, but you know they went on their own behalf. I would say
maybe they left us behind.
Yeah, that's good. Whoa.
Are we the ones left behind?
Oh,
yeah.
I'm feeling so behind at the moment. Yeah, well, but that could be a sensitive topic if we start talking about behinds a little bit too much. That could, get us in a world of hurt. So let's focus. Let's move forward.
Yeah, and let's not dwell on that. Let's just talk about some dwellings instead. That's what I've been doing, basically. I've since our last regular episode, I've just been busy preparing for Dust Nordic, which we mentioned a bit on our last special episode. And I was just doing all those cultist dwellings and cultists, those mythos monuments and stuff for the table that I was bringing to Dust Nordic. So that was basically my hobby time, just preparing all that stuff for Dust Nordic,
right.
Which we're going to talk a little bit more about later on, I think. But I think you felt the same there, Magnus, as I do.
Yes, sort of. I was not as busy as you with the tournament as such, but I decided that I wanted to finish at least something. I mean, I've had this project going on for quite a while, and I talked about it in our last one, maybe two episodes. I can't remember now.
Definitely.
Your terrain project.
Yeah, exactly. I had bigger plans earlier, and they kind of failed. But I decided, okay, I am going to finish this project no matter what. And it's of course the reactor house that I talked about. I posted some photos on Board Game Geek and also on the
old
Dust
forum,
Monthly, Dust Monthly forum.
Yeah, and War Journals forum as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've seen it. Can't take it back now.
So I'm pretty happy with that I managed to finish it, and it went pretty well. It went good. I'm happy with it.
It's always fun to finish things, and I must say I had a really finished week, and it actually got a little bit out of hand because, as you know, Lexa was staying at my apartment for the Nordic, and for some reason, every sentence I had to finish. I was saying finish. We're going to finish this. And I couldn't get any other words out of my mouth when I should talk about something that's ending, stopping. It was always, this is finishing. This is finished. finish. I was like, it's like... it was like fucking Shenyao, if you know what I mean. And of course you do. Familiar with it, both of you, I know. So, but not get stuck on that. So, because that would be really sticky. But I leave that for the Chinese audience. Hanging.
Just talking about all Lexa was, of course, one of the wonderful people who turned up in Gothenburg for this tournament. I have to say, one particular kind of thing that happened, just talking about Lexa, because it seems that he felt quite at home.
Oh, yeah.
Because at one time we were at my place to do the special Q&A podcast with Paolo and Olivier, and Lexa was also there.
Yeah.
And at one point, he just popped out. I was doing something in the kitchen. He popped in and asked me something in Finnish, and I, excuse me, as well. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I just felt so much at home.
That's great.
Yeah, he was great, and I love the fucking guy. But sorry, there it goes. Ding, 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 ding.
Oops, you did it again.
No, it wasn't meant to be. I was going to say, well, I wasn't supposed to say anything about this. I was just going to move along and say that it was sensational, and it was nice to have in my apartment. Of course, I can recommend everyone, if you have a tournament, please rent him. He's good by the hour, and he works charms for you. Also, he's you can't get rid of him. We've dumped him on several places in Gothenburg, and 15 minutes later, he was at my door knocking. So he's self-sufficient. Yeah, I couldn't rate him high enough. So, Alexa, next time, hopefully my daughter won't be here, so we can really have a go at things. And what that is, you just have to guess, dear audience. Sorry, nobody's. I look forward to meeting him in Poland, actually, and kicking his behind all the way to Finland again.
We'll see. We'll go back to talking a bit about more Nordic, I think, later on. But just talking about some more hobby stuff. What have you been up to?
Well, I've been actually crazy now the last couple of days now. It's been Easter, because I managed to bend some cardboard boxes out of Marek's hands there just before he left. And I now have a sizable Desert Scorpions, DS army.
It seems like we all three have gotten quite deep into the Desert Scorpions. Actually.
I can't stop going on about this. I mean, okay, you know me, I like to do the model kits. And I've seen the boxes, I've seen the models, we've discussed the models and stuff like that, but it was really like a second coming of the gun trucks, because, you know, I've been raving about what I loved about the gun trucks. Now, the trucks, not just the gun trucks, but all the trucks, when they arrived, such a fine detail, such a fine sculpt, such a fine extras and stuff like that. I was just blown away, and I loved them immensely. Now, I had that experience once again now, because I got the HQ box for the Desert Scorpions in model kits and opened that. And we haven't done that, or at least you haven't done it in front of me, so I haven't known what could have expected in the box. But that extra sprue with all those beautiful little things like wrenches, backpacks, radios, a new extra radio to build for the one that you can't get hold of, or you need an extra HQ, or you need something else, perhaps an observer squad or whatever that you just don't have. Now you have that go-to supply, big phasers, small phasers, big machine guns, small Bren guns, everything. It's like, okay, it's not a big sprue, but it's cram-packed with stuff. Also, you get an extra figure. You get one more HQ guy, so you can resculpt and do your special HQ. Just one little thing out there, audience. Oh, a couple of things I actually think I should have to tell you. First off, most important, no goofing around. Put every sprues in soaped water immediately.
Because of the mold release agents, and they can be difficult to paint and glue together.
I glued all my 10 fingers together before I got the first friggin' thing on the. But as soon as I just soaked them in some dishwashing solutions there with some hot water for 10, 15, perhaps it was 20 minutes, they were like a charm. They just clicked in, and no problem with gluing, no problem with coating, no problem with anything. And you could just enjoy the splendid mold of these guys, because they are so charismatic and so beautiful. I'm sorry I'm on a rant here, but they really, really, really blew my mind away, this HQ box with all the extras. And I didn't realize beforehand how much I have longed for Bullseye, but for putting him together, and I've just draped him with a base white, and then I washed him twice with a blue greenish color. But just having that twice blue wash on him, on his coat and his trousers, he's just popping already, and I'm just, how the will I be able to put him in my army all the time almost? And it's and I mean, the brain fart of it all is that I don't still know if I'm going to do Desert Scorpion in Poland. Because I have this SSU army I've been dying to play in a tournament, but I couldn't do it now for Nordic for Nova because I was doing the Mercs there for her sake. And then I have another Blue Kreuz army that I'm just with Sigrid in the spear fronting that one, and I want that one as well. But these babies. Just one more thing though. I have to. Well, no, I have several more things though.
Of course you do.
I'm sorry. First off though, don't do my friggin' bad thing. I didn't see the extra 5 heads. So first off, I was like a little bit pissed off actually, because they were like, okay, look at the card, they have all those special heads, one Aussie, one French, one Polish, one whatever. But then I was kind of, but I only wanted the berets anyway, so why am I angry on this? So I was gluing them on, and then I realized I'd glued the radio operator's head on with a normal beret without the headphones. And then I see the extra heads, which have, for some reason, got stuck in the box. And I was like, no! But fortunately, Marek has tricked me to take some more boxes of the model kits for the other squads. So quickly up with one of those and remodel that one. And that's my radio operator. Just because when you have glued the head on like I do, they don't come off without an axe. So don't do that mistake. Make sure you check the different heads inside. Yeah. But the thing is, I'm now sitting with more 6 or 7 more heads than I need. Gazillions of phasers. As you both guys knows, I did, well, as I said to Magnus before the pod, I did not do any wrong when I was buying all the heavy phasers for my airdrop platoon in way back, because in that time the kill squad wasn't airdroppable. But now I have arms, I have small phasers. Guess who's going to remodel some of his old commandos to small phaser guns, so I can now drop everything, not just the long shooters, that's close
cool.
combat.
And that's actually a point that I think we may not have made as clear before with the model kits, that it's not just the exact same stuff as you get in the primed, but you have to put it together itself. It's actually a lot more stuff in the model kit boxes.
So I mean, I see no reason why. I actually think if I'm going to do more more phaser dudes or more machine Bren gun dudes, because right now I don't have the name for them in my brain because I'm just all over the place. I think I might just buy one more HQ box because I get more toys in it. I can always remodel Marek to a heavy phaser with another pose. The Bullseye, who doesn't want to do another head for him and have more snipers but in trench coats. I mean, almost, no, they're not in trench coats, but I mean with the
suit.
Yeah, the suit, sorry. Thank you, Magnus. So you can get so much, and also, as I said, Magnus, before the show, sorry, why not make... what are that? I don't play the USMC, the dog squads.
War dogs.
The war dogs.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a war dog squad, but with only Isis, because that would be so much awesome.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of those coming, and perhaps 2 Gregs behind. I don't know if what I'm gonna do, but that is just a super squad. I just love the aesthetics of that squad. Well, I don't know if it would be legal. Of course, I couldn't get the fraction points because then I have to play it, of course, as a USMC. But of course, Yeah, you get me.
Yeah.
So, if this is not clear, I friggin' awesome love that Goram Model Kit HQ box. it's poetry.
So you've basically been on a hobby tear.
Yeah, over 22 Desert Scorpions models have been put together and are in the process of being painted at the moment. A few ground coats has been put on them, base colors and stuff like that. I'm going with a green theme because I want them to not only be a desert trooper, because I have the British, theme, and I already did the Rangers with all the desert coloring, so I'm thinking it's more natural to have them in another color to set them apart a little bit. I don't know, but that's what I'm doing right now, at least.
Yeah, sure.
So well, that's no Xiong Mao Niao there. No, I tell you, it's no Xiong Mao Niao. No, I tell you, you gotta have it.
All right, so let's go talk some news. Fortunately, maybe there's not been that much lately because we still are backlogged. I think all of us. There's just been so much quality stuff, but the one thing that was released for the game since our last regular episode, you had quite some opinions about. I think when it was released, Lada, we are talking about the fire scarab for the mercenaries. This is again the flamethrower equipped Churchill tank, or for the mercenaries this time.
Yeah, I have tons of opinions about that, and we did manage to pry out off air from Paolo last time that the real croc is coming. So all you Allied players out there, it's going to be well worth the wait in the end. But it's a little bit frustrating, of course, when you're actually going to a tournament. You're going to play mercs. You have actually a boner about the crocodile, and you want it so bad. You have at least one done so far, and I would have loved to have stuck that into my mercs army, of course. But then they release it a day before the tournament, and I was speculating with Lexa how much money it would take for you and Mats to agree for me to use it. But, I guess at least some would be irritated about it if you made that exception for me. That
was maybe a little bit too close to the pill there. We actually had one. We had one contestant, or one participant in the tournament who did take a little bit of a gamble in that aspect, not with the crocodile, but with the Avatar of Cthulhu. Because as at the time when the deadline for sending in your army lists was going to pass, he had ordered his model kits, but they hadn't yet arrived. So he kind of got special dispensation that in case those didn't arrive, he might, we might change some stuff around just so you can play. But fortunately, they actually did, and he got them painted, and his army looked lovely.
Yeah, definitely, you have to say that. I'm not much of a Cthulhu guy, but those sculpts they are amazing, and I didn't get the privilege to shoot at them this tournament, but I sincerely hope that that guy is going to Lincoln and showing up at Lincoln. We're going to talk about that later. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but you know me. Always popping my gun a little bit early, but that's just the way I am. But no, because that would be splendid. Trying to take out two of those, because he didn't have one. He had
two avatars of Cthulhu.
What could have gone through the minds of those players facing him?
What could have?
Magnus, you did, or no? Sorry.
Okay, I did not face him. I dodged him just barely. He was playing two times just on the table right next to me, so I was kind of eyeballing that army for a while, but
passing under his wings.
I never faced him. Unfortunately, I think it would be a really cool experience.
Oh yeah, it would be an experience. At least that far I can go.
But anyway, the fire scarab. Arab. We're talking about this.
What we? Oh, yeah.
But this is basically the exact same stats-wise as the version that we saw for the Mythos. But it's for the mercenaries, so anyone can use it, and it's of course piloted by the mercenary girls, and it's painted in the mercenary colors. So if you want this version, or if you prefer this version, that's how you do it.
And this is also unique. It's got the unique rule, right?
It does. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's 2 you can have in your army then if you're a Mythos player.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're identical, but so we still wait with a proper flamethrower, and we're guessing a phaser in the turret and stuff like that. So it's going to be more of a kick-ass kind of crook that's coming. And,
and just talking about the upcoming stuff, I just seeing that. I think Paolo kind of previewed for a few weeks ago, a month ago, something about the Super Pershing with a really big phaser. That was going to be something that might come out later on. And I just immediately just ordered another Pershing kit, just so I can be prepared for it, because I know that kit can be hard to get.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Right.
So we had kind of a contest going with our special episode. We had the Q&A episode.
Yeah.
Didn't we just agree a few minutes ago that those things were going home with me tonight? No?
Well, you had so good questions. I remember several questions you posted.
You were so talkative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rio was going to me because you only wanted the avatar. That's how you pitch it that way.
I'm not sure. I can't remember now.
Okay, so to refresh your memory,
thank you,
and to refresh the memory of anyone else out there who might have forgotten about the details of this, we have 2 kits that we are going to give away to people who submitted the questions for that episode. And the first one is a primed Ryu kit, and this is going to a randomly picked winner of all the people who submitted questions. So I have a list here, and I am going to just push the randomizer button, and the randomizer says that the winner is actually Roger Gudmundsson, our own Ninja Roger. So he ninja'd this contest, which kind of makes sense.
That wasn't expected.
Yes. So definitely on a roll, and I promise you this is definitely just randomly picked.
Or this is super ninja style. And
he kind of influenced my random number generator in some way. I don't know.
Big congrats. I must say that was I've seldom been so happy when someone else had won a tournament that I didn't win, when Roger won Nordic. Because I thought he did a super job preparing. He really went to town on the making of the list, really found out what was good or not in this new Imperial Japanese Navy Army, and he also tested it and played it to his strength, and I know he did tons of pre-plays on the scenarios. So I think you couldn't prepare better than Roger did, and it's a kick-ass army. Yeah.
And that definitely gave dividends for him. So we'll come back to that in just a minute.
Sure.
Because we also have another kit to give away. We have the primed Avatar of Cthulhu to give away to the question that we 3 agreed was the best one of the one that was submitted, and not only because of the question itself, but also in terms of the discussion that the question sparked.
And I might add that we had kind of difficulty to decide which one, because we got a lot of questions. And we got many good questions. As you probably know, you guys out there who has heard the special episode, there were some really interesting answers from Paolo and Olivier. So, but this one we felt was kind of, it gave a very nice insight into the brains of Paolo mostly.
I must say I discovered more from this question that I didn't know beforehand than from any other.
Exactly.
So for me, it's a really personal favorite, that this question.
And the winner is Mateusz Kuczynski.
Congratulations!
Hooray!
And of course, this question was just talking about the basic inspiration of the world of Dust and just where it's headed. And it was an incredibly just enlightening discussion that came out of that one.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
So we'll be in touch to both of you winners, and we'll send your prizes to you. And maybe we get to actually, we are going to meet some of you in person, I think, because we'll see how we can do it, because I think Mateusz is going to be at the European Championship, which we are going to. So we might be able to do kind of stuff there. We'll get in touch with you and see how we can do this in a way that works for you. So let's go over and talk about Dust Nordic. So like we mentioned, this was won by Roger. Our previously Laser Roger, now he's Ninja Roger, because of basically his new army. And like you said, just immense amount of work from Roger's side, just both with the just visual aspects of his army and also the preparing with all the tactics, how he's going to use it.
He's got flowers on the bases of his models.
Yes.
Flowers, guys.
And he keeps it up. And, you know, he's actually showing me now some pictures of the terrain he's building for the Japanese army. Oh. And I know where you live, Roger. You know, I know how to enter your third floor from the balcony. So please, and I know which windows are opened. I'm just saying, I just want a piece of the cake, okay? Just a little bit, every 10th of your modeling. Yes, come on.
But we should also talk a bit about some of our other players in this event, because you two were involved in it. You were playing in it as well. Yep. And I think it was a very special moment, I think, for you, especially Ludda, because this was the first tournament in which you actually were on a team of sorts. Yeah,
we managed to play as a team, me and my daughter. I must say, she phased out a little bit. She hasn't turned age yet, so I wasn't surprised to her not holding her interest up all the time of the tourney. But I mean, she was there, and as I've said before a million times to people who already heard this, I'm sorry. My opponents were thinking the dice rolls were a little bit dodgy, but it wasn't me. It wasn't the dice. It was her that has been weighted for some reason. When I picked up the same dice, I threw them. I had like shields all over. She picks up the same dice. It's 9 out of 9 hits or something like that. She had some dice rolls in the games when she stepped up, so to speak. It was really like she was like, okay, no mucking about now, Dad. Now we got to take this fight to the enemy, and we're gonna. I don't like that guy over there. Let's nail him, and she did. She did it good. So,
and the most important thing, did she have fun?
Well, yeah, I think so, because she could also just step out, have some Easter candy, and she was playing some on her mobile phone and stuff like that. So, but she said she had immense fun. She wants to do it again. We have set a target of her playing by herself in the autumn if there is appropriate tournament, nothing too big, just perhaps a little bit more friendlier tournament. Yeah, and maybe nothing that's like for Nordic that goes on for 2 days. No, so that's a lot to ask of a kid. So. But the most important thing also, but no, not the most important. That was the most important thing. We were having fun. It was a good thing. I had some personal insights in the tournament. First off was that playing, we have always talked about this before, playing too big an army with too many activations. That is a hard thing, because that can just topple it. But if you play with too few, like we did, we had 10 activations only, that could also hinder you. And I actually we were having a bit hard time in 2 games when we were outnumbered. So, but yeah. Nova, would you like to come and say hi to the audience? We're talking about our tournament. You just say hi to the audience.
Hello.
Well, sorry to break off there a little bit. We have some breaking news. Yes, going on the dustgame.com website at the moment. We have a new release. Ooh. It's a premium edition Impossible Terrain Babylon pattern. So a new little nice scenery item here. And actually, this is an item that I've seen before, because this is the same piece that's been used as the base for the Elite exclusive Demolisher.
Yeah, right.
But if you want this piece just by itself, here is your opportunity. It's only available, from what I can see, as a premium release at the moment, at least.
Yeah, but it looks nice. It will fit on most, both of course, desert-themed tables, but also other tables.
Of course. Yeah, and as with all the scenery that the studio does, it's just bristling with detail, even if it's a kind of a smaller-ish piece this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going back to Nordic and the army that you were playing, Lode, do you have anything specific you want to say about your army composition there?
Well, we tried to play as much mercs as we could. I had a first try with when I had Louisa as commander, but I thought she was a little bit expensive at 12 points. So I went with another direction. I went with Tina and the Hyena. And then, of course, I had to have some Germans in there, or some Axis. And then it just turned out I got Sigrid, some Ghosts, Hans, and... But after that, it was more or less, and of course Angela, because my daughter wanted, as most as we could, only females, all the girls. So we had like Obliterator and 2 Wreckers and triple cleaning teams and machine guns and all the heroes and stuff like that. So it was a nice army. But a lesson that is learned after this is even if you built quite a good army, I think actually it was quite a good army because we had very tight games. We only won 2, but the 3 we lost, any other day we could definitely have won those games, especially the second game. Because it turned out that Tina's Hyena had Greg, the defector, in her mouth for 2 or 3 turns without biting, because I forgot about the execution order. So I could have executed Greg, and then I would have gotten more initiative. I would have secured that objective. I would have won that game, which Lars so thankfully pointed out after the game. Well, I deserved that one. That's no doubt about it. I didn't do my homework. It was the first time I actually played the Tina and the, and I was, to my knowledge,
learning something every day.
Yeah. So when you put the big monkey into the mouth of the hyena, make sure she bites. Okay, just not hold it there for fun. They can do that in the circus, but when you're on the battlefield, bite the friggin' head off, okay? Lesson learned. But it was a great tournament. I would love to play this army more, but I think for this type of tournament with this point total that we played, I think 12 or maybe 13 activations would have been a little bit better, because in 2 games we were really outnumbered, and I sincerely think that we talked about too many activations. It's just frustrating because you don't remember what you're doing with everything, and you start throwing it away in ways you shouldn't, or it takes too much time to play and you don't finish the game. Oh, there we go, another finish. So no, but just for you, Alexa. Well, yeah, lesson learned.
All right, Magnus, you played kind of a classic army.
Yeah, I went really old school with this one. I felt, I had a plan on maybe playing Desert Scorpions, but I realized I will not be able to finish everything in time, and I really wanted to play an all-painted army. So I went back kind of old school and decided to play my British-themed Rangers. And this time, almost kind of foregoing the Heavy Rangers. I had 1 unit of Heavy Rangers, but other than that, they were all like Soldier 2s, like the normal Rangers. And I had a mix of units of those, and I have a few vehicles as well, and combined it with a bunch of cool heroes that I think worked fairly okay, actually. in the end, I managed to win 3 out of the 5 games. And the first game was just super duper close. It was, it was definitely the most intense of all the 5 fights. It was the bomb scenario, and my opponent Jens, thanks a lot for that game. It was so much fun. And he almost set off the bomb, so I was just about to lose the game anyway. So I made kind of a, last ditch, tried to lay out that puzzle. I need to move here, I need to shoot, and I have to kill that model, and then I need to reactivate and everything. And I managed to do everything, but the kind of bad
no
part.
room for error.
Yeah, and I managed to do all of those things, but the problem was I needed to pick up the bomb and go outside my own deployment area for it. Otherwise, I would just auto lose because of the scenario. And I did that, but then time expires and the bomb explodes, meaning my guys who held the bomb, they were killed. So I lost that game with 3 kill points only. So yeah, he had me on the ropes for a long time, and I thought maybe I can manage to squeeze out of this, and I almost did, but it was super fun game.
Yeah, well, Jens has that tendency, because when all those big gorilla hands gets you to the ropes, he starts pounding you. You usually just feel so sore after a while, it's...
Well, actually, yeah, he ran a bunch of gorillas as he normally does, and of course they did some work, but his real hero guy was Wolfgang, the zombie hero. Ooh. He was the guy running around all by himself. He picked up the bomb and delivered it to my deployment zone. And I tried to catch him, but I really couldn't until the very last shots there. And yeah.
Up till now, I was so proud of you playing this army, playing 3 wins and all that. And then you can't catch Wolfgang. What the...
I had a bunch of gorillas staring at me. I was nervous,
Yeah, those can really put you off guard. And he handles them so well. I've had some extremely interesting games with Jens over the couple of tournaments, and I even lastly when he beat me quite black and blue actually with those gorilla paws of his, I really immensely enjoyed it. He can maul you over and make you feel good about it for some reason. It's not good.
Yeah, it's really fun to see. It was actually 3 different players, I think, who played Blutkreuz armies, and they all had a bunch of gorillas. And I think in one of the matchups, 2 of those players were matched up against each other. And I think that was kind of an epic match. There were like 33 gorillas on the table at one time, and just complete madness. Yeah, it was really, really cool to see. So, anything else you want to say about the tournament? Was there any kind of specific moments for you, Luda, that's kind of stood out, for instance?
Yeah, it's a few things with the prize ceremony, actually. The first thing also, of course, we have to call it now. Gothenburg has to succeed. We are no longer the capital of dust in Sweden.
That's true.
It's Tranås. Oh boy. Those guys are really rolling it now. Like 6, counting Kalle in the Tranås Mafia, we have 6 out of 7 first places were from Tranås. It's just, we have to do something about it. We have to go there and kick their behinds a little bit because they
I don't know. We should really, take some samples of the water or something. There must be something.
I think it's the cheese.
I think it has to be the cheese.
Yeah. And that's a long story for those living outside Sweden, but there's a speciality. Fortunately, or quite tragically, they have decided now to move the cheese manufacturing out of Tranås and actually think in moving them abroad, just like they do with the Gothenburg biscuits, which is a friggin' atrocity, actually. But that was one thing. But the other serious thing is that I really enjoyed the thing that you have now managed to get. I get to do that trophy that is...
we have this really amazing challenge trophy that's supposed to go to the next winner next year. But this time it went to Roger. And it's for those who haven't seen it, go in and check. the pictures on our site and such, because he made this just entirely metalwork kind of Dust Vikings logo trophy, and we're just blown away when we saw it in real life.
So cool.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
cool.
And did I get it right that you should now engrave Roger's name on it, and every year you will engrave a new name? So that trophy in a couple of years will be... That would be nice if you want your name engraved in a trophy in the Dust universe. You better come to Nordic one day. That's a really good one for you guys who did this, and I, of course, meaning you and Mats, who convinced Agge to do it. So.
Yeah, very, very happy with how everything turned out, I have to say. And just the problem is that now we have to raise the bar for next year, and I don't know how we're supposed to do that. So.
Well, that's one. If we should be serious about this, and I wasn't with this year, the bars you frequented during the Dust Nordic has been a shambles.
So we should actually raise those bars.
Yeah, if you raise the bar next year, you could go, and that could be easily done. You don't have to do much to raise the bar.
Raise the bar. Yeah, exactly. So, that said, let's go over to mail call. We got a ton of very interesting questions here. And the first one actually comes from our contest winner, Mateusz Kuczynski. Yeah. Yes, what units from Paolo's presentation are you most excited for? Except for the Vril. That would be too obvious. So, I have something that's just very, very delectable, I think, for me. But I'll let you go first, because I think that it looks like Magnus has something on the tip of his tongue here.
Oh, there are so many cool things coming out. I'm not sure where to start. On the top of my head, I would probably say the tanks. I would like to see some more tanks. I'm not, from what we've seen so far, they look pretty cool. Some of them are better than others, of course. Personally, I think it's going to be interesting to see the super heavy allied tanks, and of course also the E-tanks, because they will be like a whole series of different sizes and weaponry and stuff like that. Interesting. But yeah, probably the allied super heavies. I'm not sure when we will actually see those, because those were mostly like concept arts and stuff.
Yeah,
what's it called? The tortoise or something like that was the one showed, and that it looks really interesting. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to most, I guess.
Ooh, yeah. Well, basically, I'm not quite actually sure what he showed this time that he didn't show before, and what's really new. I am actually now scrolling past the presentation as quickly as I can, just to try to get some ideas of what I should think is the.
And the X-33 for Blutkreuz.
That is, of course, extremely interesting, and I love the fact that they will try to get some Blutkreuz flavor this year. Of course, they are also in the future, but the Allies LVTs. But the Allied bridge layer. That is, of course, I got tears in my eyes when I saw that the first time. And I know that Paolo said that this is years in the making, but it's just a wonderful little device that you could do so much with. He showed the
excavator.
The excavator for the mercenaries. That is also, of course, a super model. Also, you can make so much with that, and it enhances your game table. But I've been on about those before. I was raving after Poland with those, so I don't know. The landing crafts for for the Allied is of course also interesting, because that we can finally move to Pacific a little bit easier. But I'm just rambling. Please, Jonas. Put some more
for
in.
me, like you said, the excavator is one that I've talked about before as well. It just sticks out because it's the kind of thing that mixes the mundane and the fantastical in that just specific way that I really, really love. If we're talking about stuff that are new to this presentation, one that stood out for me, I think, is the Japanese E-tank with the rail gun and the slanted side armor.
Yeah.
That looks really badass.
A small thing can also be big things. I mean, the VK deposit, the new terrain feature that you can you put it on the game table, and then you and your opponent can harvest your VK supplies to give you sustained attack or something like that.
Yeah, and also
It's
just
like,
talking about scenery items, that kind of bunker entrance or ventilation shaft thing that he showed off, that just looks amazing. You can make that a really cool part of a gaming table.
So basically, we all have just one thing that we thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Presentation. we answer like a politician.
Yes.
Sorry, Mattias.
I want everything.
Yeah, just one out of everything.
All right.
Or maybe two.
We have a bunch of questions here from Mike Pierce. So let's just go over them in order here. First off, with all these new items and the Vril being revealed, do you think other long-awaited reveals or reprints will be forgotten? I don't think so at all. Actually, and we actually are seeing that a bit going on. We have that new Heavy Rangers Army box just releasing, and Paolo talked a bit in our Q&A about other older kits that are being kind of remodeled and reshaped. So the intention of just making everything available, or at least if it's not in the original form, at least in a remolded form, is going on. I don't think that process is going to slow down.
No, I don't think so either. Sorry.
No, I don't think so either. And I mean, we also have to remember that a bunch of the stuff that Paolo showed us, especially like the Vril, a lot of that is still, super early concept, basically. So things will change. They will not be forgotten, but they will be changed a bit. They will probably not look exactly like they did on that concept art he showed. So, yeah, that will not be forgotten.
No. What were we talking about again? Sorry, too easy.
Mike's next question. Since our coffers don't have enough gold to influence kamikaze walker bombs, like we talked about in the Q&A, maybe we could influence ramming mechs as a thing, specifically a mech march move that upon contact damages both mechs but pushes the larger vehicle 2 squares and potentially damaging further vehicles.
Right, so you could have like move speed, march move speed, and ramming speed.
But you can make it easier also. You can make it, you don't have to use new cards, you can give skills. And I see no reason, because as we talked about, like Battletech, they are mechs in other games that you use for punching a hole, so to speak, or moving. I mean, if several tons of mech comes running at you and gives you a push, that ain't so happy.
Yeah, but still, like all models, they have their improvised weapons. So any mech can hit another mech.
It's just,
so it kind of already exists in the game in a way.
In a small way, yes. But I think what could be done is if you do a specific kind of mech that's specialized in this, that has a big kind of wedge or a big drill or something that it rushes up
have
and
the
punches stuff
SSU with chainsaw.
But just in a larger scale.
Yeah.
But actually,
I love that SSU Walker, and I wish I could play that more often. But why not see more on all sides? I mean, they're just as breaching barricades, going through a bunker, or like I could see a mech that you use almost like. He has a one-use weapon, which okay, this would be the one-off, so it's not used every game, but it could pierce a bunker.
I would like to see an Axis mech with a circular saw.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that would be cool. Actually, I was just going to fill in. I actually wrote, I can't remember, a couple of years, I think, back, an idea that I had with mechs, not to attack other mechs, but to kind of be able to overrun infantry. Because at the time I felt, and I kind of still feel, that these spam armies, they sort of dominate. It's very good to have lots of activations and lots of small cheap units, and I felt that many vehicles, we don't see them play that much. So I had the idea, what if vehicles in the game could like run through infantry and possibly damage them?
Yeah, I think so too. Because I mean, if I had my big Type 5 walker and I have 5 guys standing in front of me. Okay, they won't stay in the line, of course, for me. I mean, but they won't stop me. I will just walk through them. Okay, I'm careful because they could have damage. Dynamites and explosives and stuff like that. But still, you should, or at least some mechs should have that skill, I think, just to, like we have when you go through the enemy lines anyway with the infantry skill.
I can't exactly remember now how I wrote this stuff, and we didn't really. I play tested it once, I think, but maybe we should try that more and pitch the idea to the powers that be.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it was basically 2 things. Speed is good because you can more easily run through things. But also your armor class is good because you are bigger and heavier and can give more hurt. So it kind of balances each other out. The small, fast walkers, they can do it easily, but they won't do that much damage. And the slower, bigger, they have, not as easy to really drive through things because they aren't that fast. But when they actually do, they put in some more hurt. That was the kind of general idea I had.
Yeah, but also, if there's a big, slow-walking mech coming boom, boom, boom towards you, you step out of its way. It's like, okay, you can freely move 1 square with your units, or you get trampled on when he passes through you. Okay, it's going to be a very big shift in game mechanics if everything, though, can do this, if it's a general rule. So
I'm gonna dig out this rule. I have it somewhere in my old computer, so I'm gonna dig it through, and we can maybe take it for a spin someday.
I'm digging it already. So no, but and I've said it twice now, so I shouldn't say it 3rd times. But hey, it's me. I'm saying it 3rd time, 3 times. I mean, I think it's better that some mechs have it as a skill. But let's see. Okay.
Let's see. All right, final question from Mike here. With the new Luftwaffe army box and the Geist airplane out, how do you speculate the re-emergence of aircraft will have an effect right before the water-based specific theater scenarios? And speaking of aircraft, why are there designations between pilot, pilot-specific vehicle, and pilot air and pilot air-specific vehicle? Is all that really necessary? So that's really 2 questions in one there. But first off, do you think re-emergence of aircraft will have an effect? Well, if we actually are getting a lot more water-based scenarios, which we kind of are expecting now with with the landing vehicles and amphibious walkers and stuff, then I think aircraft will definitely see an uptick in use just because of the reach they have.
Yeah, and if we see more ninja armies like Rogers, there will be more airplane lists. That's for sure, because those little bastards you have to take out from up high. So I'm actually thinking if more people play Ninja Spam, we will have more aircrafts.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I really have nothing to add. I mean, it all depends on
that's a first.
If like scenarios kind of forces you to have more aircraft, or if that's the way the meta goes, so to speak. If people are playing certain armies, it kind of usually balance each other out, because then people will start playing counter armies. So yeah, we will just have to wait and see. Personally, I think aircraft Me myself, I don't play aircraft too often, but it happens. And I think at least on the tournaments I've been to, there are a few people playing. Of course, the SSU helicopters are the most popular, but you see Axis and Allies airplanes as well. So
yeah, definitely they arrive from time to time. I still think that the biggest problem with the aircrafts actually is that you can't be so fancy with them. To me, there's still only two interesting aircrafts, and that's the Grom and it's the Invader. And it's not because they are super expensive and all the things that people normally think about. It's my old dilemma that they have two weapon lines that are endless. So they keep on firing with two weapon lines. That means that they can start doing things and be a little bit more creative with their things. So when you get you got the Hexe there with not the Hexe, but the other one that when you can fire with a turret underneath it.
Yeah, the Geist.
Yeah, the Geist. Yeah, thank you. Then it starts to... The Geist is also a plane I hold in the same bracket as the Grom and the Invader. Because then you can start doing ideas with your army list, and you can be creative, and they can be really, really interesting. So I just think that it's a lack of creativity from our players that those three especially hasn't been seen more on the battlefield.
yeah, but I mean we're not too far away from seeing the new Allied one with the phasers. I can't remember what's it called. It's called something. But anyway, it's got
Black Mamba.
Yeah, exactly, and
Thank
it's got a whole bunch of machine guns and phasers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is immediately up there as well.
Yeah.
Then it's the point cost, of course. I still think it's quite steep in the amount we play right now to take you can't take the Grom and the Invader in the same army, of course, and they are also because they are that's 50 points and they don't
That's
do that much
a lot of
damage.
eggs in the same basket.
Yeah, they are very fun to play with at the same time, of course. But to me also, both those two are a little bit overpriced. And I'm not saying this as a Russian friend, but I mean, the Grom, well, I haven't played it so much, and I had some success with it, but it's still, you don't have that much punch in all those four phasers. It should have been two different phasers, so you can attack, perhaps stun two creatures at the same time, or two opponents at the same time, because you don't kill anything with it. It's the stunning thing that is the fun part, and you can have 3 Tesla batteries on the ground instead of the Grom, and they survive longer, they hold more objectives.
Yeah, but as you say, they have their ammo isn't limited, so unless the enemy kills them, they are still the same threat.
Yeah.
They just keep going. So yeah, but we'll just have to wait and see if things will change, one way or the other.
Yeah, and the second part here about the different pilot designations. I would say difference between pilot and air pilot, I think that's absolutely necessary. We don't want any characters, any heroes that can pilot both land vehicles and airplanes. That's just...
Yeah, that's a very important designation, because some of them fly aircraft and others they drive tanks or walkers.
Yeah, but I would like to have some super jock that could actually drive both walker and fly planes. That one character who, anything she or he touches, it's just automatic success. You just sit down in the cockpit and it works. I would love that character, but of course you cannot have it for everyone. Know that.
And if we go to the specific vehicle pilots, do we think that's a necessary distinction, that you can only pilot this specific vehicle?
I mean, it's not necessary if you look at just pure game mechanics, I guess, but it's an important part of the story that, Koshka, she's got her personal walker, and Sigrid's got her personal walker, and so on. So yeah, I think it definitely belongs in the game.
I too, and I think actually they could restrict it more, because I actually get a little pissed when I see Koshka outside of a KV-47. It is the same. Of course, she's a super jock and she could probably pilot anything, But when you get I don't know, you get an opponent to place Josef and Korsika comes in it. It kind of, I don't get pissed off. I just feel it's a little power gaming. So I feel it's because Korsika is in her walker to me. We want another Russian pilot instead that could do some of the stuff that Korsika does, but you could put in any tank. It's like an ace tank hunter,
that would probably be my approach as well. Instead of changing the few pilots that do exist, why not release a few more?
Yeah, definitely.
If each block got like a couple more, things could get really interesting in that department.
And then please, if anybody knows, because I missed that one, could anybody find the meta which says that the Snow Lynx hasn't got 2 lasers in it? Because why would Sigrid go with a...
Yeah, her walker should really be a Wotan.
Yeah, no. I liked she would have her own personal kind of walker, or at least her Snow Lynx should be a little bit more different, just like Grandma is a little bit more different because Korsika has remodeled it. I would have suspected that Sigurd would have tweaked something, or that it's had perhaps an extra laser on it or something. I don't know, something more than... it's a wonderful little thing, the Sigurd and the Snow Lynx, but I expected her to have a little bit more, like you see, like, oh, there's Sigrid in that one. Okay, she don't want to be standing out in the battlefield, perhaps, but on the other side, when you see that she's on the battlefield, 90% will flee. So, I mean...
Right.
Well, yeah.
Right. Our next question comes from Lasse Dahl, who I think this question is kind of influenced by some experience from Nordic, because...
Yeah, well, we don't talk about that, and we should actually just cross over Lasse here, because since Nordic, I don't think we speak to Lasse anymore. It happened no, it was definitely not. Lasse, it was a wonderful time playing you, and that was one of those beautiful games that you were actually so happy when you lost, because you lost on the last die roll. So it was a beautiful game, and I'm so thankful for playing him, and he actually played Allied 2 as well.
Yeah.
So that was also immensely fun, but that was one of the games when I felt like he had 1 or 2 units too many for my army to handle.
Okay, so. I see.
But please, let's see.
Yeah, because Lasse is asking about smoke, and I think especially if we go with Ninja Roger and all his ninjas, there was just a ton of smoke on the table, and the question is, smoke in huge quantities gives, for me, a poor gaming experience. With blocking terrain, you can completely invalidate any range advantage your opponent has, and large quantities of smoke thus can give a poor new player experience. Do you agree? And if the rules were to be changed, what do you think would give a better experience? And this is, I think, a new problem. There has, of course, been smoke in the game for a long time, but it hasn't been as prolific as it is now with the ninjas. Usually it's just like 2 smoke puffs from one army, maybe 3 if you have some units with smoke launchers and KV-47s and such. But just that enormous smoke wall that the ninjas give off is just something new that people don't really know how to deal with yet.
Yeah, and you could make an argument for perhaps having 2 different lengths of smoke. Like it's if you have the one-time use smoke launchers, perhaps those should only be 1 turn instead of 2. I mean, if it's a certain type of mortars, or if it's an artillery piece from a big tank, it stays for all tank smoke stays for 2, and infantry. I mean, like they have like smoke grenades.
I like that they keep it streamlined.
Yeah,
really
of
try
course.
to keep stuff as as same as possible. But it's a kind of new situation with the ninjas, because you can have a lot of those units and they all have a one-time use smoke grenade. I suppose, obviously the points cost could be higher for the ninjas if you think they are too good, or the ninjas, their smoke bombs could be like only 1 square in size instead of 4 squares. But then again, then it differs from other smoke, from regular smoke. So
Yeah, and I don't feel like the smoke from the ninjas is that much more worse than a skilled smoke layer with either a Spetsnaz or a Khrushchev Endak list. Because I have faced a few of those when it has been quite frustrating that some squares on the table is all game is smoke. I love that the artillery and all those having a bigger influence and bigger effect on the game board these days. But it's in some aspect I can actually feel like that perhaps it's too much. Perhaps each unit should only be able to lay smoke once. I don't know, even if you're a grenade mortar guy or something. I don't know if that's too much, but it's
no, it's difficult. But I mean, the idea should be, at least I think, that these units, they pay in points for their ability to put out smoke. So it should kind of balance each other out, and it all depends on what you are playing. If you are playing, let's say, some kind of close combat army, and you face ninjas, you wouldn't really mind them putting out smoke. It won't help them. So it's very much dependent on the opposition, and also, like we just said about aircraft. Aircraft are actually really good, because you can't really hide from aircraft even in smoke.
No.
If you guys out there haven't really thought about it, read through that part of the rulebook really carefully, because aircraft are still very useful even if the opponent puts out a lot of smoke.
That is true, and that is perhaps the way you have to go with this, because you have to start using aircraft more to combat the artillery, the smoke layers. And to me, I have no problem with the ninjas laying smoke. I have as much problem with smart and effective smoke layers from other aspects. That is. You really redefine the game table. And when we only play with 2 mats, as we still do, and sometimes those, when you lay, for instance, then 8 squares of smoke on them, it's a totally different table you're playing on.
Yeah, but you also have to remember that smoke is very often a two-edged sword, meaning if you put out a lot of smoke, you will also block your own guns from firing. And I've seen that so many times when people put out some smoke and afterwards they say, oh crap, I can't see you anymore. My smoke is in my way.
That's usually what I do. I usually disturb myself more than I do the opponent. So that is also an aspect. But I'm just...
So just going back to the question, I can see why that could be a negative play experience if you're a new player and don't know how to handle this, if you haven't seen it before. So the question is, if we think that, is this something that should be changed because of that aspect? And I don't think so. I understand that it can be frustrating if you're not prepared for it. But then again, you kind of have to find out how it works and then adapt to it. So it's all about your local meta. If you are facing a lot of players using a lot of smoke, then try to use a lot of aircraft to combat that. That's one of the things you can do. And it's not like every army is going to be perfectly balanced against every other army. There is this rock, paper, scissors thing going on.
Yeah, so this kinds of ebbs and flow. I remember a couple of years back when this edition of the game came out. A little while afterwards, people started playing with smoke a lot. So I remember seeing, almost in every game, at least in our tournament, I'm talking tournament games here, people were just throwing smokes all over the place. But then, I don't know, it kind of shifted, because I guess people started preparing more for that and using different types of counterplay. So smoke wasn't as good, but maybe, the pendulum is kind of swinging back. Maybe smoke is better again. But then I guess people will start preparing for that. So
Yeah, I don't think the smoke will be the latest fab like it was in a year or two back when it started really, when it really were exploding, if you want to say like that. But I definitely think that the mortars once again will be will make a blast.
Yeah. Second question from Lasse. How do you think the game would be affected if there were more terrain that affected movement? Also, how do you think terrain that allowed vehicles faster movement while impairing infantry would affect gameplay? This actually does exist in the rulebook, but unfortunately not many people use it nowadays. There were, I think, actually before this current version of the game, we used those different types of terrain a bit more than we do now, it feels like. But there are things like roads, vehicles move faster on roads, if you define that. There's things like mud, in which infantry moves slower. So these kind of things exist. You just have to build your maps and your boards with that in mind, I think. And a lot of people nowadays just don't do that.
No, well, still, it's the two map problem, at least with roads. I played with roads a few times when we played gridless, actually, and they were fun because then there was a point why you started moving on the road, even though it was in the middle of the table, but because you could travel so far and you could really get at your opponent on the other side. But I mean, on a two mat system, roads, no. I would love to see some roads on the three mats in Poland one day. That could be interesting. But well, and the mud thing and the swamp thing or something like that, when actually walkers could like wade through it and infantry gets stuck in it. I would really like to see that because that could also give walkers a better usage, I would say, because if you think about, should I have these two infantry or this walker, you usually take the infantry because they can do more and it's more. Well,
it's I mean, that's something we can really think about for next year's Nordic and prepare to have even more variety. But it's a very, very fine balance, because if you end up playing on a table that really hinders your army, it's not going to be fun. If you play like an all-out infantry army and there's mud everywhere and you get stuck, it's not going to be a fun game. No. So it's a careful balance, really, both the effect and the amount of terrain on the table. So you have to make sure that it's a fair and balanced table and a fun table to play on, no matter what type of terrain is on it. And I think that's why some specific types of terrain are much more popular than others. For example, like trees, woods, because they kind of work very well no matter what type of army you are playing. They give interesting choices no matter like what you are playing, and yeah.
Yeah, well, Nordic also has that, you could call it a problem, that since every board is unique, if one is very heavy on one type of terrain, that table could break one player's tournament. So as you were onto there, and that could decide so much. Then okay, I played that table, that decided my whole tournament.
Yeah, it's a very fine balance. Because I'm completely okay if a table is a bit harder for me, but if I just look at the table and almost think, okay, I've lost this game, then it's not going to be a fun game, really. No.
So that is better for the Polish or for instance, the German masters. They could do that because they print their tables in advance. So then you go there prepared, you know what you're facing. And that also makes it easier for you to handle it if you still choose to go with the army that is not getting the bonuses.
Yeah, that's absolutely one way of handling it. But the way we usually do it, have really mixed tables. Everyone is unique. As long as you don't do, like extreme tables, I think it's going to be fine. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So our next question comes from Troy Tepes. With the new global market, do you think that Cthulhu have a value? Also, how would you make a historically accurate armor core army in Dust 1947? So again, kind of a two-parter here. So what do we think about Cthulhu?
Oh, do you want us to take it on air or do you want us to mute that?
I know you're not really a fan.
Definitely not. Never will be. But except for killing. Even though I'm totally against it, but it brings out the hunter in me, the great hunting that great white shark. I mean,
So you are really settling for the lesser of the two evils? Why not choose the greater one?
Yeah.
Join the dark side.
Yeah. And I love that quote. Wasn't it Carl Sagan? It's much more... Didn't he say something like, it's more likely that we find intelligence in space than on Earth, or something like that? That was perhaps the cynical version of what Carl did. No, but I mean, what do we think about Cthulhu and have a value? What does he mean with global market? We were pondering these beforehand. You should have wrote a little bit more, Troy, there, because we are a little bit lost on exact your question. Is the global market the new Cthulhu players? Well,
I think we talked a little about this. If you look at what could the value of the Cthulhu army be for players around the world, and I think it's a great army to get people into the game who might not have been interested in the game otherwise. Yeah, that's the big value of the Cthulhu army, I would say.
Yeah, I mean the value of Cthulhu or the Mythos army in Dust, it's undeniable, I would say. I have no idea about the numbers of sold units and stuff, but I'm guessing the cultists are selling pretty well.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing, and it lets a lot of people who maybe wouldn't even look at the game otherwise. Now they see these cool monsters and stuff and say, "Ooh, what is this?" So, yeah, I think it definitely has a value to Dust as a game, as a community.
Yeah, well, and as we know, they were written into the mythology from the beginning. So it's like why not? They were there, even though we didn't see them. So
exactly, people have gone back and just the thing that most people isn't aware of what the word Zverograd actually translates into. So if you're curious about that, go check it out. Mm-hmm. Then the second part of his question here about a historically accurate armored army core in Dust 1947. Well, we do have some at least historically accurate army, but most of it is just the Dustified kits, basically. So how would you go about making a historically accurate army? I don't think you can really at the moment.
Depending on a little bit, we also have done some historically correct vehicles with the Dust Vikings, and we have them. And
with the unofficial cards that we produced. That is absolutely true, and those are available also at the Dust War Journals download page if you want to check those out.
Yeah, and I'm really actually a little bit miffed about the fact that they are rarely allowed these days in tournaments. I think it's a load of, let's say, I think it's 5-5 do PGen. It's 5-5 do PN. That's what it is. Look that up if you want to know what I think about it. Because actually, as we talked about it gazillion times, we all made them all worse than the official cards. We tailor make them so they are not in a way making your army better. It's just for the nutcases who wants to bring out a T-34 or a Panzer or whatever you want to put out there, do it, be creative, have some fun, go with the main flow of the game. That's actually, I know Paolo don't want to do the historically vehicles in his game because you can get them so much easier from another distributor, and it's so true, and I understand them completely, but he still makes the effort to do those Dustified kits, which is well, the reason why I love this game so much, that he embraces the fun, the creativity, the do-it-yourself, make this universe bigger and better. So yeah, I could go on a rant for days about the stupidity of not playing with Dust Viking cards, and on so many levels.
Yeah, and not to toot our own horn here too much,
no.
But if there are other units out there that you want to use in Dust, then just make your own stats for it. It's not that hard, actually. Yeah. The hard bit is just to get started, basically.
But I just like to say this also. I wouldn't give a frack if anyone else had done these cards. I would still have used them and would have embraced them as much. It's just the fact is, almost none were doing them. So that's why we were starting them back in the day. Okay, Magnus is the main creator and should take most of the praise, but I think, the biggest mouthpiece for them because I feel so strongly about them. So.
Yeah, but it's a joint effort. We have done a lot of work, even if I'm the one who actually put the file together. I wouldn't be able to do it all by myself anyway. But going back to Troy's question here, I would also like to say that you could kind of turn it around and use historical armies as an inspiration, and then kind of try to translate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Historically, these guys used these types of tanks. They had, a ratio of this many heavy and this many medium tanks. And then just translate it. And okay, so I'm going to make it one Königsluthor and one Jagdluthor and two Ludwigs and whatever. Yeah.
True.
So you can just use it as an inspiration. Because, this game isn't World War II. Mm-hmm. It is kind of based on that, but it's still a weird war. So, yeah, it all depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
All right. And our next question comes from Brian Udens, one of our favorite question contributors here. And his question is kind of short and sweet. What were your favorite armies from Dust Nordic? And I think for me, as a ranger, I didn't really have the opportunity to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of the actual matches in the same way as I think some of the players did. Just to see how the different armies played. But so I can mostly go for the aesthetics of the army, and I have to say we kind of mentioned it. Michael, the guy who brought the 2 avatars of Cthulhu in his army and just painted those up in a very black, dark color scheme, which to me looked fantastic. That was one of the ones that really stuck out. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to miss those 2 big avatars of Cthulhu. I can't really remember exactly what else he had in his army. I'm sure there was something, but
you only saw those 2.
Yeah.
But I also like to mention, though, because we didn't do that when we talked about Nordic before, that Lexa won the most appreciated army trophy, which is also a wonderful trophy that I can only hope I will win one day, because that's a big beer mug or beer glass that is with the logo on and stuff like that.
Custom hand engraved thing.
Yeah, and that would be so nice to have in your bar cabinet there. And also I would like to give a shout out to, perhaps we do that often, but I don't think we do it often enough, because we have one little wizard, to my knowledge, here in Sweden, who always surprises and always brings me a smile on my face with his armies, and I'm talking, of course, of Ulf, because I just remember the first time he brought his first KV-47s, I almost started making love with him there, and for Ulf's sake, I'm glad I didn't. I could restrain myself, but those are the most interesting and most genuine, inspiring army walkers or army that I've ever seen in Dust.
Ulf really personalizes his army in a way that most people don't. I mean, not only in the paint scheme, which for this was very personalized, but he also remodels the figures and just customizes and replaces stuff, and just does a lot of work with his army. So I definitely see what you mean.
And it's not like he's only a good painter, because he is very good painter. I can't make a judgment on if he's is one of the best or where he's situated, but the fact that his army always brings an identity, it has a soul in it, at least the ones I've seen. Perhaps he makes a lot of shitty models in his cabinet that I haven't seen, because he seems to be putting models together for all kind of games all the time, and you don't know if he sleeps or if he does. I've seen his workplace, and I know who his boss at work is, so I'm guessing he doesn't do much regular job. He's just painting and modeling in there. But no, I just, that guy should have a lifetime achievement award someday.
Yeah, his armies, they always like stand out of the crowd, definitely. Very interesting painting schemes, whether you like it or not. Usually they have, some of his armies, they have very, like bright colors, so they really stand out.
If you want to look for his army on the pictures from Dust Nordic, just look for the mercenary armies with very bright primary colors. So
and I can understand that some people maybe don't like that because they want more historically, accurate stuff or camo-ish or whatever it is. But whichever way you turn it, you will kind of remember his armies. You will see it in the crowd. Yeah. So those are very nice.
Yeah, and that's why Nova and I voted for him. We would have voted for Lexa if not he was there, so to speak. But because well, to me it's more important that you get something, tingles in your belly when you look at an army. If I'm going to vote for it, it has to have character. And Goram, damn, he has character. He should have some character himself, though. He's just a little bit. I think he takes it out on his models. No, I just had to say something to balance that, didn't I?
Yeah, you were all about balance, I know.
Yeah, I know. I'm totally
zen.
Yeah.
Right, next question comes from David Nighthawk. How often do you get to use aquatic vehicles? Do amphibious vehicles come into play? Mostly no. That's the kind of same thing there with the terrain stuff, that there are rules for water-based scenarios and water stuff, but most people just don't use them, at least at the moment.
No, I think still there are not enough amphibious vehicles in the game, and not enough, scenarios where you kind of need that, and that kind of goes hand in hand. So whenever more vehicles are available that have the amphibious rules, they can also release more scenarios where you need it. So
seriously, guys, you listen to the question? The guy is called David Nighthawk, and you listen to the question. I'm sorry, my mind shut off after Nighthawk. The guy is called Nighthawk. What is this? How fortunate can he be? That must be like the coolest surname you can have. He's the Nighthawk. God, Goram, man, yeah. Sorry, yeah. More amphibious things, yes, please. Yes, sorry. Yeah, there was a question. The Nighthawk, yeah, super. That's just
right.
Sorry, David. You probably heard that a few times, but the Nighthawk. No, the Nighthawk. He is the Nighthawk. Should we do an hour with this?
I'm pretty sure you could.
Yes, the Nighthawk.
You know what? We can do maybe a special episode just for him.
We put it on the web and see how many downloads, how many listens through 1 hour of me going, the Nighthawk.
That kind of reminds me of an old Swedish commercial. You know the one? Postbanken.
Yeah. Well, there's also, like this Swedish game show that me and Nova likes to watch. And this Swedish comedian that I love. I'm so fortunate I've actually met him once or a few times. It's called Per. And they put him with headphones. And the test is how long will he sit there, listen to the music, and it's 15 seconds of saxophone on repeat. So it's 15 seconds, and it repeats. He actually sits there for almost an hour listening to that and talking to himself with a blindfold. And the test was like, how long can he? And that is a special episode that you can watch on the Swedish television site.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next question.
I'm not the worst. I'm not the worst out there.
Roger, our own Ninja Roger again. What are your predictions and hopes for the new Steel Guard starter set? What will Karl Kowalski and his units have in movement, and what vehicle will be in it, do you think? I'm guessing this is going to be, Karl Kowalski, that's the new Steel Guard hero with the Tesla, and his squad will also have the Tesla stun batons. So, yeah, of course, this is going to be a close combat squad. The Steel Guard are kind of known for being very slow. I am guessing it's not. I don't think it's hard to say that it will be a transport of some kind, perhaps a PT-47. That seems likely, at least.
Yeah, could be, but I'm not sure because if I understand correctly, these guys will have some sort of jetpack.
That's true.
So
Also, we have heard some
really
rumors.
need it.
Ponga sticks.
Yeah, it is one point. That is a point, but also we've kind of heard rumors that their jetpacks, because of the weight of those Steel Guard suits, might be one use only.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's enough for me. And you put that Katushka in there, the PT-47 Katushka, and
that would make you happy, yeah, of course.
I have lost my. I can't speak.
But if we talk about what do you think that this unit will have in movement, I think because based on if that rumor will be true that they have a one-use only jetpack, I think their standard movement will be the normal 2-3 for the Steel Guards. But they have this special action they can do that will propel them like 4 or 5 or 6 squares once per game
I
or
see
something.
them having some plain little small numbers like 8. 10 like movement or something. Not nothing special. Just something standardized. And
no, but I'm thinking about other troops in the game with jetpacks. They have 3-6 move, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of any jetpack troops that do not have 3-6. So I would say it's likely that they will get that for one use if that rumor is true, or because they are Steel Guard and extra heavy or something, it might be a bit less than that. But
maybe they get +1 to both standard move and march for one turn, or
we'll just have to wait and see on that because it really depends on combination, or if they have any other special skills or stuff that can
if they are done to jump into the enemy lines and baton them with Teslas, they have to have charge, and then they don't have a special movement bonus. They do this one and they charge 6 squares or 5 squares this time. So I don't think it's going to be a stats for both move stats. It's like they do this and then they charge. If they have a one use charge, that would be my guess.
It should be not more than 6, and definitely not less than. I would say 4, but that would not be very good actually. So I don't know. My bet is on 3-6 for that time when you use it.
And I know this is too much snottling, and I don't want it, but I would love that it would be like you move 2 squares straight, then you scatter in a direction for some say, and then you move 2 more, and then you scatter again, and you do like 3 jumps, like doink doink doink, because they're so heavy, they're hard to control, and then you hopefully wind up.
And then they smash into a wall and die.
Oh, you're not leaving this house alive this night, I'm telling you.
Right, next question comes from another one of our Viking fellows, Mats. Mats is asking, what do you think about the faction bonus? Personally, I think it makes armies too similar. Tournaments without the bonus usually have more varied armies. I kind of agree, especially now that we are moving. It seems like the game is moving towards larger points in tournaments. We were at 100 points for a standard for quite a long time. Now we're going to move to, it seems like most tournaments are going to 120, 140, something like that. Then the bonus is just getting larger and larger, and it's more difficult to ignore it. And
but still 10%, so it shouldn't really matter that much.
Right.
And we did actually see quite a few armies on Dust Nordic that did not use the bonus.
Yeah, you have the stats here, but basically your own tournament has just pulverized this argument that you and Mats make. We had the most variety I've ever seen in a tournament at this Nordic, as Oliver was on about in the last episode. There was just unique armies everywhere, and a lot of them, like mine, had no bonuses, and I felt I did not need the bonus to compete with others. It was the number of units more that was my hindrance, and of course not knowing my own rules. Those two were the only problems for me. I think it's just the fact that players aren't brave enough to step away from the bonuses and seeing what that gives them for kind of extra bonuses, so to speak. So
I have to say, Mats, I don't really agree with you on this, because if you remove the bonus, every Axis player will try to pick the best Axis stuff together, and every Allied player will try to pick the best Allied stuff together, and so on. So maybe in the few tournaments that we have organized here in Sweden, it's been like this, with more varied armies. But I think that's more because of the tournament itself. I mean, because we are just, happy-go-lucky playing for fun for these smaller tournaments. On those occasions, people aren't really putting together the best armies they can.
And I kind of think that this is one of the points that the bonus was created to avoid, because we saw that a lot in the older version of the game.
Yeah.
That people were just using almost the exact same armies against each other.
Okay, so you are playing Axis, of course you are playing Panzer Prince.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, the Panzer Prince was so much a given. But we've been on that, and even also.
Yeah, and I mean, all the blocks they had, they have these, few units that are really good, sure. But with the faction bonus, you have to make some hard choices.
Yep.
But of course, if you look at a specific faction, if you look at whatever, US Marine Corps, and compare two of those armies, sure, they can look very similar because, they don't have too much to choose from. Some of those heroes will be obvious choices. But then again, they will be very, very different from other allied armies who are not USMC.
And when you don't have standardized scenarios, because that is actually the fault with a lot of tournaments we've been to, that you could easily see on those tournaments that, okay, this is very good to have that army or that army, perhaps that army. And lo and behold, we go to those tournaments and...
it's a different style than what we usually do over here. And I understand why people kind of prefer that, because it's a more competitive kind of thing. It's a way that you can prepare and really just it's a puzzle for people to solve. And I can definitely understand why people enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
But it seems like the most of the people that play in our local tournaments, at least, doesn't. So we prefer to do things differently.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to our last question for this episode, and this question comes from Jeff McKayan. Who do you think will be in the third faction listed in the FAQ for the Allies? And I think he's talking about the Special Service Brigade here, because that's the only faction really that doesn't have that lot of units at the moment for the Allies.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, well... we think there will be more Special Service Brigade units coming. But
I really hope so, because Allies really are the only bloc at the moment that doesn't have a really fleshed out third faction at the moment. So sooner or later, I'm hoping we will get this faction more fleshed out. As for what could be in it, do we have anything kind of...
No idea really, but I remember, in the kind of early days that because when the current version of the game was released, it was only what's his name, Action Jackson, and the Commandos, his guys there, who had this faction logo on them. So they were the only guys belonging to that faction.
And then the Kill Squad also.
Yeah, right. But I remember there was some kind of discussion, or somebody asked the studio, or asked Olivier if we were going to see more units to this faction. And as I recall, the answer was yes. But then we also know that they made cards for Action Jackson and his guys to be played with the Desert Scorpions. So maybe things have changed. We don't really know that, but we've said it before. More Brits in the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And so, I know they were quite shitty, but I mean, airdrop tanks, I still want them. There were a few. I just like the sound and the feel of dropping a tank, because we know from literature that the Axis are dropping everything from the sky, even their the Type 7 walkers. And if they're allowed to drop them from the sky, okay, they don't do it in the game, but come on, let's have some more. Let's have some fun.
That's what I've been wondering for quite some time now. When are we going to see these, airdropping Königsluthers?
Yeah, or like those airdropping containers, because they would be a fun thing. You can buy them for X amount of points. You place them in your army, and you place something in them. And then you drop.
Yes, like an Easter egg.
Yeah, because you sacrifice a lot of points. What game-wise advantages would you have dropping the Königs? It still sees all through the game table. I mean, it sees all the way anyway. So
it's the fear level.
Yeah, and just the fun of it, dropping a Königsluther. I would love to do that. It would probably suck donkey balls, but I mean, it's like, it would just be fun.
Yeah. All right, so let's go over finally talk some tournaments, because we just finished us Nordic, but we have a lot of tournaments ahead of us. We have Lincoln here in Sweden coming up shortly, the 31st of May.
Yeah.
So this is the second big tournament in Sweden, basically. So this is going to be, well, it's actually Linköping Days of Dust 8. So there's a precedent here. It's going to be at the big gaming convention Lincoln. And I think, are we all planning on attending, or what's the plan there for you guys?
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't really registered yet, but I am kind of 80% sure that I will go.
Good. I have registered, even though it was late, just the other day here. I am actually a little bit miffed. I didn't see all the 6 out of the 7 top names from Nordic, from Tranås there. And Tranås is just outside Linköping, so you guys need to, show up, or otherwise we won't respect you. This was just the one time off you are succeeding.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, they have to show us now that it's just not a one-off thing. They have to produce, represent, and just because this is going to get personal now. They were here in Gothenburg. They took our trophy. They went to town on Gothenburg. I tell you, I will use every weapon at my disposal, and it won't be above board to thwart every Tranås player down from there. I don't mind if anyone from Stockholm or from Gothenburg or Borås or wherever you're from wins that tournament, but no way in hell it's going to be a tournament. You heard it here. It's a challenge. It's on. This is at least me against all of you, but hopefully you guys will.
And I think for me personally, I'm just looking forward to playing, because I've just been so focused on arranging and doing all that extra stuff before Nordic. And so I just want to play the game. I just want to get in the tournament and just have fun.
Yeah. And just on that subject, I'm actually calling it a small gaming day here at my own casa, the 4th of May, Saturday, the 4th of May, and I've actually tricked you, Johannes, to get here. I'm hoping so much also that Mats will be here, because he was not playing at Nordic, so I hope the spirit will reach him and he will feel like, oh yeah, This is a friendly little mini tournament.
Yeah, we're sending vibes through the air. Ooh.
Yeah, please, Mats, I'll do anything for you, almost anything. And then we need 3 more if Mats is there, because we have 3 tables. And so anyone want to come and play some games on a Saturday? It's going to be a mini tournament. Please do. And it's all in preparation for that Grand Lincoln behemoth get on trashing of Tranås. You heard it before. It's going to be the trashing of Tranås for Lincoln. So all people who are not from Tranås, come to my place on that Saturday. We train, we set up, we go through all the schemes we can muster, and then we go to Lincoln and we maul them guys over.
So with this speech, you're gonna have like 20 people waiting outside.
With pitchforks and like everything.
Yeah, possibly, very possibly.
And if you want to get in touch with Ludde for this, his telephone number is...
Well, it's actually on the internet, so please, if you want to.
And then, of course, in June we have the big European Championship in Warsaw, and I'm just looking forward to this event because it's going to be. It was a while, but I couldn't attend last year, so I'm also chomping at the bit to get away to this event. The ones that I have been at has just been amazing, so really looking forward to it. And I think you, Ludde, has just finalized your plans. I don't know how it looks for you, Magnus, at this point. Still up in the air?
It's unfortunately not looking very good. I'm working on it still, but that's why I'm really hoping that I will be able to make it to Linköping. So I at least get one of the 2, and obviously. Linköping is a lot closer to me.
Yeah, and it's much more personal now,
Yeah, kind of. No, but I mean, obviously, I would love to go to Warsaw as well. But yeah, we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it in the Q&A special that the first mission was released, the one with the radio towers.
Yeah.
Just recently, the second mission for this championship has also been released, where you have to control some archaeological caches, and this is again, it's 3 mats, so it's a very long table, and you start from the short edges. This is going to be a slog.
It's really interesting, and the problem I only see now is that it's 5 games, so you're not going to play each scenario as much as the other. Hopefully, perhaps they even do a 3rd scenario.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We can hope so.
Yeah, because those 2 scenarios they have dropped so far are so diverse and calls for definitely different types of armies. So you can't tailor it for one type of gaming table.
Which is really good, I would say.
Yeah.
That just forces you to think how you're going to deal with this.
So I'm super excited. I can't tell you. And I actually, well, why don't you just out there? What's your thoughts on the EU Championship? What army will you be playing? Why do you think you're going to play that army? Isn't that something interesting? Couldn't you ask us questions about the scenarios, the championship? Let us know. What's your thought about this championship? Let's get the
bus going, basically.
Yeah, and since we for sure will have the Dust War Journals will have some presence.
Yeah.
Is there anything special that you guys out there would like us to do?
Now you're cooking.
So let us know.
Yeah.
What's on your wish list, basically.
Yeah.
So with that said, I would like to thank everyone out there for staying with us for this episode. It's been really fun as usual. And I would also like to thank everyone for just your support. It's been wonderful to see all the reactions going on with the episode we have with Paul and Olivia. And also, of course, a very big thank you again to those 2 guys. You are lovely human beings, and we enjoyed every minute we got to spend with you here in Gothenburg, and we will hope to see you again very soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So a big shout out from me, Ludde, and I just also like to end this episode by saying that anyone you can walk away from, I call that a victory.
Yeah, and thank you from Magnus as well.
And of course from me, Johannes. And until next time, we shall see you on the battlefield. Thank you for listening to Dust War Journals. You can find us at dustwarjournals.com or on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dust War Journals. And you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/dustwarjournals. All music used in this podcast is made by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.